It's great to have you all here. So let's have a big bonjour for the start of the conference. Bonjour. Well done. This is, of course, day 3, but it's the first business sessions we're having, and it's only happening because we've got great sponsors. Once again, the overall conference sponsor is Schneider. Let's hear it for Schneider. Your breakfast this morning was sponsored by Phillips, so thanks, Phillips. Our morning session is being sponsored by Busy Adwig and NHP. And thank you, NHP, for supplying these big things. Now, you'll see there's one in the back of your chair. They are yours. Please keep them, take them home, dress up in them. If you can wear them in a novel way, we'll take a photo of you. The lovely Rebecca will take a photo of you. Well, that's a little bit too novel. But they're all yours, so take them away and use them. And thank you very much to our good friends at NHP and, of course, Busy at Work for this morning's session. I myself am sponsored by ECHO, the premium provider of electrical apprentices and training in New Zealand, and Energy Super, putting the energy into super. So let's thank ECHO and Energy Super. As we said at the start from day 1, the big part of this, especially that it's Trans-Tasman, is that it gives us a chance to greatly increase our networking opportunities. So could you just please take the next 30 seconds to find somebody in this room, not from your country, and make a new friend. You have 30 seconds to do that now. And ladies and gentlemen, these things don't happen by accident, obviously, and they certainly don't happen by luck, even though I myself am a lucky sort of guy. My birthday is the 5th of May, so that's an incredibly lucky day. And I celebrated my birthday with a few friends a couple of years ago. In fact, there was a group of 4 of us who went with me to the races to celebrate my birthday. So they had a party of 5 on the 5th of the 5th. Imagine my surprise when we got to the races and there, race number 5, horse number 5, was called Old 55er at 55 to 1. And I'm thinking, gift. So I put 55 bucks on for a winner. Who came in 5th? So luck actually got a lot to do with this. Two gentlemen who inspired this entire conference, this entire industry, are our first speakers. It's my great pleasure to ask you to warmly welcome the Chief Executive Officer for Master Electricians Australia. Would you warmly welcome Malcolm Richards, ladies and gentlemen.
David, good morning everyone. Fantastic crowd here. Good to see everyone here. Look, today is a unique day, something we haven't tried before, and I'm really quite interested in how today will turn out. An opportunity for industry to really talk to industry. For me, today started probably 4 years ago when we became aware of a new dodgy cable being sold in Australia. We were talking to the Australian Cable Makers Association. We became aware that this Infinity cable had been through a 12-month process where they'd been lobbying the New South Wales Fair Trading to have this cable withdrawn. It took them 12 months to convince the New South Wales government to do it. When they did withdraw the cable, they asked Masters Home Improvement, no connection to the name obviously, to withdraw the cable. Masters agreed. If any homeowner took the cable out of their home, rolled it up and took it back to the store, they'd give their money back or give them another roll. We thought that wasn't quite good enough. The cable was only recalled in New South Wales across the whole of Australia in a unique equipment product safety regime that was disconnected from state to state. So we jumped on the bandwagon. I got a lot of assistance from Malcolm Cole down here on the front in the media, and we launched a campaign. We did a bit of work with the Courier Mail in Brisbane, which culminated in a front page newspaper article 4 years ago, slaughtering the Queensland government for not recalling the cable, and was still available for sale on the shelves in Masters Home Improvement in Queensland, when in New South Wales it was recalled and declared non-compliant, which was very embarrassing to the Queensland government. Little known to me, on that morning, Dean Wright from the ACCC, their senior product officer, was in a Brisbane hotel, woke up and read this story on the front page of the paper. and rang me later to talk about it. That then led to a task force being formed by the ACCC, who got together with state-based regulators and unfortunately moved very, very slowly to do anything about the product. In fact, it was 12 months later in a series of 4 meetings before the ACCC launched the next round of the recall of the product Australia-wide. Some 4 years later, from that time, this task force has been meeting regularly. The regulators have been recalling the product. The suppliers, who have, some of them have actually gone broke through the process, including Masters Home Improvement, have now achieved a total of 51% of this cable actually being identified, which is one measure that they're quite proud to communicate. The numbers they're not communicating is that only 8% of the product has been remediated. And you ask why I say remediated, not removed, is because they were so concerned about upsetting Masters that they didn't actually command a full product replacement. They simply asked for the high-risk parts to be replaced and the rest to be left there. So only 8% has been remediated. Less than 1% of this cable, 4 years later, has actually been replaced in Australian homes to a huge cost. So you can see the level of this problem to our industry. This is a terrible outcome, and it's going to go on in Australia for 20, 30, 40 years until we come across all this cable, find it in the ceilings and withdraw it, hopefully before someone gets hurt. I note that as recent as around a month ago, New Zealand's got your own infinity cable. I'm told by the regulators in Australia that it's only been released through a limited supply and they've got a very good handle on it early to stop its spread across the industry too far and wide. I hope that's the case. You can see from the Australian example it's not a good position to be in. It is understood that this cable, which has got a different name in New Zealand, is actually manufactured in the same factory in China to be released into the New Zealand market. So be very aware. This cable, from what we know about it, to save the cost of production, they didn't put any thermal polymers in the cable, which gives us the durability over time with heat and those sorts of things. So within 12 months, this cable becomes rock hard, brittle, and will just snap in your hands. So if it's left untouched, it probably won't play up anytime soon. But as soon as you put your knee on it in the ceiling, you'll find what will happen to this cable. So you can see from this example, and I could rattle off another 20 others in the last couple of years, product quality is becoming a critical issue for our industry. And I thought that was pretty much it for Australia, that electrical would rise to the top as the most dangerous industry with this product quality. But I've participated in a couple of Australian industry group cross-trade working groups to look at product quality. And I've found that concrete, steel, glass, aluminium, cladding, they're all the same. We've got the same generic problem right across all of these industries, importing cheap rubbish getting flooded into our market, and struggling to deal with it with any silver bullet that can actually solve the problem. What I'd like to do today is to actually generate some ideas on how we could solve this. Our advice to our membership in these last years is to rely on our supply chain in our industry to select the quality brands. The brands that are here supporting you at this conference and helping out, they're the brands that have got so much invested in their own brand, which rises above the cost of any recall or everything else. We've seen quality brands have product issues, and we've seen how they've responded and helped us change that product out. They're the brands you need to stick to. So we've been on a campaign to talk to our members about that sort of an issue for the last couple of years. We've also come up with a couple of other solutions around insurance for people importing and selling product, and actually keeping a register of who the product is sold to, which also helps out on our issue where customers can buy, the general public can buy PowerPoints from your local hardware store. If all of that product was kept on a list to where that product went, the recall process would be a hell of a lot easier, and it would also be a strong deterrent to anyone trying to do their own home handyman work and do some illegal wiring. So we thought that would be a couple of good solutions, but I'm looking for more. Across all of these industries, there is a real problem in finding a quick solution to this problem. Most of the solutions involve some level of customs stopping product entering the country, and that's a very hard issue to achieve. Customs don't want to do anything except drugs, guns, tax and terrorism at the moment, so getting them to do something else is a real struggle. Maybe in New Zealand you can have more luck on that front. Other countries such as the UK do have a more active regime with their border force on that issue. So today is about industry. I'm really proud of the quality of speakers we have on today, starting straight after me. That we've got the CEOs of the big companies in industry. These guys are the strategic decision makers around product quality and product innovation. So I'm really excited as to what today will bring, and I encourage every one of you, especially later during the panel session, don't be timid, have your say, ask the hard questions you want to ask, and know who these big hitters in the industry are, and maybe corner them later and have a good discussion about some possible solutions to these key issues in our industry. So please enjoy the day. Thank you very much.
Once again, thank you very much, Malcolm. It's now my pleasure to ask you to warmly welcome the Chief Executive Officer for Master Electricians NZ. Would you please welcome Neville Simpson, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, everyone. Just to support Malcolm with his address, I think today is a special occasion to have two associations come together in a beautiful venue like this and discuss the issues that are impacting both Australia and New Zealand is, I think, a great thing. Particularly interested in quality of product, making sure that we use reputable wholesalers and go through the appropriate channels. But as Malcolm's covered off that particular issue, the thing I wanted to address today is speed dating. Part of what we're doing today is talking about innovation. And for us, I guess speed dating is quite an innovative thing. Hands up who's done it. Hands up who's a liar. I think speed dating happens every time you go into a pub. You try and pick up someone from the opposite side. That to me is speed dating, because often you get rejected real quick. But I looked up the definition of speed dating, and or as it's now known in business terms to try and make it acceptable, speed networking. And it's a formal matchmaking process whose purpose is to encourage people to meet a large number of new people. And it started in Pete's Cafe in the Beverly Hills in 1998. Now that's probably quite an interesting fact that you will all forget before the evening's out, but I think the point is that a conference like this where Australia and New Zealand come together is an example of speed dating, and that you have to meet some Aussies, and Aussies have to meet Kiwis, and we have to get on and discuss these issues because they are important to our industry. Because a lot of the products that come into New Zealand often emanates through Australia initially, because it's a much, much bigger market. So make sure you do hook up with some Aussies or hook up with some Kiwis and discuss the issues, because they are different. They aren't common amongst the countries. The other thing I found out when I was reading through the information around speed dating is that most people make their choices in the first minute. They pretty much assess either the person or the product. And that can often lead to disaster, as I'm sure many of you have experienced in your dating careers. But I guess what we're saying in terms of what we're going to do later on with these sessions is don't necessarily look at the presenter and go, oh, this guy or this girl is boring. Consider the product, because the people who are presenting today are presenting services and products which are all reputable, but coming through the appropriate channels, and they're the supporters of industries like this and conferences like this. So make sure you listen, take on board what they're saying, and make a considered judgment about the product. I think the other thing I'd like to make a point of when discussing speed dating is how we're going to operate these sessions. Now, most of you would have hopefully all noticed there's a star on your lanyard. I'm noticing one or two guys are now looking at it going, oh, yeah, I've noticed that. You'll find that the Australian green and gold, which is quite significant, I think. For some reason, we've got red and blue. I'm not sure why. I can't understand why I haven't got black and white, but anyway, yeah, I think, you know, when we're talking about going to these sessions and looking at the products, rushing in to buy a product because it's cheaper has an outcome, and usually it's a bad outcome. And the same could be said, as I said earlier, when you make a decision quickly on looking for a partner. If you rush in and something doesn't work, it usually costs you a lot of money, usually half your assets, the house, or whatever you've got. So you have to be pretty careful. Don't buy on price. Buy on quality and buy through the appropriate channels. Make sure that any product you've got is innovative, because that's what we need nowadays, but is of a quality that you know you can rely on, so you don't have to go back and do countless fix-ups or repairs.